Welcome to another episode of Deep Dive into Real Estate by Team Luddy Dillon. This is the place where we simplify real estate for you, one topic at a time. Enjoy.
All right, so you're thinking about basement apartments in Brampton. Huh?
Yeah.
Maybe you got that extra space and thinking about making it a rental. Well, you're in the right place because we're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about all those essential requirements for making a basement apartment legal in Brampton and, how to rent it out successfully. And of course, we can't forget about the costs involved. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or even just invest in Brampton or the whole Peel region, you'll want to stick around for this.
Yeah.
And to help me out with all this, we've got our expert here who knows this stuff inside and out.
It's a jungle out there in the real estate world.
Oh, it is. It really is. But that's why we're here. To make it a little less wild, before we get too far into the weeds, we should mention, we're part of Laddie Dillon's team here, and we're all about giving back to the community, sharing our knowledge so everyone can make those smart real estate decisions. And we especially focus on the Peel region. Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga, we're talking the whole area. Laddie's been helping people here since 2007, so he's seen it all. So many people help navigate the market, all that. But all right, let's get back to these basement apartments. So where do we even begin? What's the first thing people need to know about legalizing their basements?
Well, first things first, your house has got to be at least 5 years old.
5 years.
Really?
Yep. Think of it like a probation period for your house.
Like it's got to prove itself before it can handle tenants.
Exactly. Got to make sure that foundation's settled, literally and figuratively.
I love that. So new builds are out of the question for a bit.
For a bit, yep. Then there's the look of your house. You can't just go adding a second front door or anything like that. Brampton's pretty serious about keeping that curb appeal,
So no turning your house into a full-blown duplex.
Right. It's all about blending in, keeping that neighborhood charm. Okay, so my house is old enough, doesn't look like a duplex. What about the basement itself? Any rules about the space?
Absolutely. So the basement unit can't be bigger than the main living area up top, and ceiling height's a big one. Got to be at least 6 feet 5 inches.
Wow, so no hobbit holes allowed down there?
No hobbit holes. And that's continuous ceiling height, too. No ducking under pipes or beams.
Gotcha. So got to think about furniture and all that, too.
Definitely going to measure everything twice for sure. Then there's the doors. They need to be solid wood or metal, at least 1 3/4 inches thick.
So we're talking heavy-duty doors here.
Oh, yeah. Gotta be able to withstand some wear and tear.
That makes sense. And what about windows?
Windows, they got to meet certain size requirements,
Yeah.
be at least 3 feet from the ground and have a proper well,
For safety and all that, right?
exactly. Got to have that natural light and ventilation.
It's not just about making the place look nice.
Right. It's about having an escape route if something happens.
Okay, so we've got ceilings, doors, windows. What about those essential rooms? The kitchen, bathroom?
So for the kitchen, you'll need a fridge stove and cupboards. Enough for the number of tenants you're planning on having.
So no hot plates and mini fridges.
Nope. Got to be a real functioning kitchen.
And the bathroom.
Needs proper ventilation, either a fan or a window.
So we're checking off all the boxes here, but before we get too excited about decorating and all that, what about permits?
Permits. Those are crucial. Don't even think about starting any work without getting all the approvals you need from the city of Brampton.
I bet there are some horror stories out there. People skipping the permits and regretting it later.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not worth the risk. And, another thing, depending on where you are in Brampton, your tenant might need a parking spot, too.
Parking in Brampton, that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, it is, believe me. But let's not forget about safety features. Those are non-negotiables.
Absolutely. Got to keep everyone safe.
So smoke alarms on every level, including bedrooms, are a must. And they got to be loud enough to wake the dead.
No more sleeping through a fire alarm because it's too quiet.
Exactly. And then carbon monoxide detectors are essential, too, if you've got fuel-burning appliances or an attached garage.
Safety first, always right. Now, I'm not an electrician, but I'm guessing DIY wiring's a bad idea.
A very bad idea. You need a professional to come in, do an inspection, and give you a letter of compliance.
So leave the electrical work to the pros.
Always. What about the wall between the basement and the main house?
That's got to be important, right?
It is. It needs to be fire resistant, rated at least 30.
To keep everyone safe in case of a fire, right?
Exactly. It's about containing the fire and giving people time to get out.
And speaking of getting out, what about the exit route?
There's got to be a clear way out of the basement. That doesn't involve going through the main house.
So if the main house is the only way out, you need 2 escape routes.
Exactly. Got to have options in case of an emergency.
And let's be real, no one wants to live in a noisy basement.
True. So soundproofing between the units is key. That way everyone can enjoy some peace and quiet.
So to recap, we've got ceilings, doors, windows permits, parking safety features, soundproofing. It's a lot to remember.
It is, but it's all about creating a safe and comfortable space for both you and your tenants.
Don't forget, if you're feeling a little lost in all this, you can always reach out to Laddie Dillon's team.
They're the experts. They can help you figure it all out.
Exactly. They're your go-to for anything real estate in Brampton. So are you ready to take the leap and become a landlord? We'll dive into some tips and tricks in just a bit.
Okay, so now you've got this legal basement apartment all set. Time to find the perfect tenant.
It's like a matchmaking game, right?
It is.
Find that perfect housemate, someone who'll take care of the place, pay rent on time, all that good stuff. But before we start, looking for tenants, what about getting the basement ready to show?
Presentation is everything.
Oh, yeah. Got to make it shine.
You want your basement apartment to stand out from the competition, so professional photos are a must.
No more blurry cell phone pics.
Exactly. Got to step up your game.
And what about the description, when you're advertising it?
Don't just list the basic stuff. Highlight what makes your basement special.
Like what kind of things?
Is it newly renovated? Does it have its own entrance? Is it close to transit? Really sell the dream.
Paint a picture of that amazing basement life.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's talk about the big question, rent. How do you figure out a fair price for everyone?
Do your research. Look at similar rentals in Brampton, same size features, location, that kind of thing.
So you're comparing apples to apples.
Right. You don't want to overcharge or undersell. And once you've got a price, be upfront about it. No bait and switch tactics.
This transparency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for finding the right tenant, I imagine the interview process can be a bit nerve-wracking.
It can be. It's your chance to get to know the potential tenants, learn about their lifestyle, their job, why they're moving.
So it's like a little detective work.
Kinda. You can even ask for references from past landlords.
To see if they were good tenants.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to talk about money matters. Ask about their income and credit history.
Got to make sure they can afford the place.
Right. And that they have a history of paying bills on time.
You don't want any surprises down the road.
Exactly. Speaking of surprises, what about wear and tear?
Ah, yes, the inevitable part of renting. Those scuff marks, spills, mysterious stains.
Happens to the best of us. But you gotta know the difference between normal wear and tear and actual damage.
It's like a little scratch versus a hole in the wall.
Right. Faded paint, worn carpets, that's just part of life. But for those bigger issues, that's where the security deposit comes in.
Yeah, like insurance for your basement apartment.
Exactly. It covers those damages that go beyond normal wear and tear.
And speaking of insurance, what about landlord insurance?
That's essential. It protects you from liability in case of accidents, injuries, or damage.
So it's like a safety net for you as a landlord.
Exactly. And then there's the lease agreement. That's your Bible.
Gotta have it in writing.
It lays out all the terms and conditions of the tenancy, the rent, the length of the lease responsibilities of both sides.
So it's like the rule book for the landlord-tenant relationship.
Exactly. And don't forget to include those house rules.
Like quiet hours, guest policies, all that.
Yep. Spell it all out to avoid any confusion later.
Because no one wants to fight over the thermostat.
Exactly. Being upfront saves everyone a lot of headaches.
So much good advice here. But I know some people might still be hesitant to become landlords. What would you say to them?
Do your homework. Understand the rules, the costs, the challenges. And if it feels overwhelming, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's where a team like Laddie Dillon's comes in.
They're the experts.
They can guide you through the whole process, answer your questions, help you make the best decisions.
So it's like having a real estate mentor in your corner.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the nitty-gritty of basement apartments. But what about the bigger picture? The impact on the community.
Yeah, it's interesting how basement apartments kind of spark this whole debate.
They do. It's not just about the extra income, right? It's about how it affects the whole community.
Exactly. We're talking about affordability, how people interact, even the way our cities grow.
It's like this little basement apartment has a ripple effect.
Exactly. Like, think about the housing situation in so many cities. It's tough finding a place that's affordable. And basement apartments can help with that. Add more housing without changing the whole look of the neighborhood.
So it's like a gentle way to add more density.
Exactly. You're not building these giant towers or anything. You're working with what's already there.
And that's probably better for the environment too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Less sprawl, less impact on nature.
Makes sense.
Mm.
We've talked about how basement apartments can help renters. But what about the economy, for the whole city?
Oh, yeah, it's a boost there, too. Think about all the jobs it creates. Contractors, plumbers, electricians, all those folks getting work.
So it's putting money back into the local economy.
Exactly. And when people have more affordable places to live, it can attract new businesses and workers, too.
It all comes back around.
It does. It's all connected. Basement apartments might seem like a small thing, but they can really change how we live and work in cities.
So for those listening who are thinking about taking the plunge, where should they start?
First things first, do your research. Know the rules, the costs, the potential headaches.
We've covered a lot today, but there's always more to learn.
And if you're feeling a little lost, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Who should they reach out to?
Well, a team like Laddie Dillon's is a great place to start.
They know Brampton real estate like the back of their hand.
They've got the experience, the knowledge to guide you through it all.
So whether you're buying, selling, investing, or yes, even basement apartments, check out Laddie's team at www.searchhouse.k.
They're the real estate pros you need in your corner.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive today.
We've covered a lot of ground. I hope you learned something new.
Maybe you're even feeling inspired to tackle your own basement apartment
It's a great way to add value to your property.
and contribute to the community.
Just remember, knowledge is power. Do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to seek guidance.
And a big thanks to our expert for sharing all their insights today.
My pleasure. It was great to be here.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of real estate.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We will be back with something new and something interesting.